interest funding. You can get access to 0% interest capital without an aged business, without a credit profile. In this video, I'm going to show you how to optimize your personal credit profile, how to hack the bank and discover their secret criteria of getting approved, and how to use credit stacking to access 6 figures of 0% interest funding. You can get access to 0% interest capital without an aged business, without a cash flowing business, without any previous knowledge and credit, without any previous bank relationships, and without being a certain age. And you don't need any income verification. And before we proceed, I just have to show this quick disclaimer. My lawyer said I got to include it. And basically, this isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. The results are not guaranteed. I can't guarantee you a specific amount of credit. Some of the people that I've been showing results of, these are average people. There's a good chance you will see very similar results, but I can't guarantee you a specific amount of funding. So who are these strategies for? If you're an entrepreneur or have a side hustle and you need money to start a business or scale a business, whether it be in e-commerce, real estate investing, consulting, really any type of business, this is for you. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur and you have an idea and you want to start a business, but you just need the funds to get it off the ground, this is for you. Or if you're an investor and you need more capital to take advantage of more investments, this is for you. And if you already have a decent amount of personal credit limits, you're gonna be able to move much faster with these strategies. And by the way, this offer and these strategies are exclusive to American entrepreneurs. It is a privilege that you can get access to this type of funding because it's only available for American entrepreneurs. There's no other country in the entire world that offers funding like this. To get the most out of this video, you just need 3 things. The first being at least a 650 or above credit score. Secondly, no bankruptcies that are reporting on your personal credit profile. And thirdly, you need to be coachable. And also to note on these strategies, you don't need to provide any sort of income verification, and you don't need to provide any sort of bank statements or tax returns to get approved for business credit. Additionally, getting access to business credit will not affect your personal credit score in a negative way whatsoever. And here you can see after getting approved for $500,000 in business credit, you can see my scores at 816 and 826. My scores have actually gotten better since I've gotten business credit. And again, in this video, I'm gonna show you how me and 2,021 entrepreneurs are using these strategies to get access to capital to start and scale businesses. And real quick before we proceed, I wanna show you guys some of the real results we're seeing inside of our group. And this is not even the best results. These are what average people are doing inside of credit stacking. Here you can see Brett was approved for over $100,000 of 0% interest capital in the first 3 months of credit stacking. You can see Offwa was approved for over $200,000 of business credit. Sarath approved for $109,000, and Frankie and his business partner Dominic approved for $175,000 of 0% interest capital that they're able to use for their e-commerce portfolio. In just the first 14 months in my journey in business credit, I was able to get approved for, again, $500,000 of business funding, much of it being at 0% interest. Here you can see approvals for $100,000, $50,000 approvals, and the list goes on and on. And because of these results and these strategies that I was able to use, they've caught really big names like David Meltzer. I was featured on his podcast, Ryan Pineda. I've spoken at different masterminds talking about these exact strategies. And I was also featured on Forbes, a full feature article that talks about my success in credit and specifically these strategies that are now helping over 2,000 people in our private community. At the time of this recording, I have coached 2,021 entrepreneurs and have helped them get a combined total of $10 million in business funding. And this is only confirmed limits that have been posted in our Facebook group. So the total is actually much bigger than 10 million, but 10 million we have confirmed approvals of. So here are some of the old funding strategies. The first being your hard-earned cash. First of all, for most people, they're quite strapped if they're funding their business with their hard-earned cash. And when you have the option to leverage other people's money, OPM, why would you want to risk your hard-earned cash if you have access to the bank's money? The second old funding strategy is bringing on an equity partner. They bring the funds, you do the work. But in this scenario, you're giving away control and you're giving away profit, so less money actually makes it into your pocket. The third bold funding strategy is through a business loan. Anytime you get a traditional business loan, you are paying interest, whether it be 10%, 20%, 30%. But anytime you're paying interest, it makes it that much more difficult to actually succeed in your business. So what exactly is credit stacking and how did I discover it? Let me take you back a bit. My first business was a hoverboard business, and how I funded this business was with my hard-earned cash. So I self-funded this business, and ultimately, because I only had a few $1,000s to my name at the time, it completely restricted our growth. When I moved to my second business, which I was selling these inflatable loungers that were super viral, maybe you guys have seen these in the past, to finance that business, I brought on an equity partner. So they brought the money, I think it was $10,000 or $20,000. We gave them about half the company, so we gave away equity, gave away control, gave away profits. We ended up having to buy that partner out of the business, which was a nightmare. But that was just the only, the only way I knew how to finance a business. It turned out to be an absolute nightmare. Thirdly, when I had a travel company, we organized spring break trips for university students down in Cabo San Lucas. We funded this business with a business loan. So we were paying interest about 10 to 15% on a business loan, and it did allow us to take market share and ultimately led us to an acquisition of our company, which was super cool, but we were paying interest. So this was the big eye-opener for me, that if we were able to borrow money, we could scale much quicker, and it could lead things like taking market share and lead to an acquisition. But at the end of the day, we had a massive expense of this 10 to 15% loan that we took. And then I discovered a method called credit stacking. This allowed me to use 0% interest business credit cards to start a variety of different e-commerce stores. One that I specifically want to highlight is my Amazon store, which was a drop shipping store that I scaled to $1.6 million in revenue in just 12 months. And what's specifically cool about this is that was on a 0% card for 12 months. So I was able to quickly pay off that card and started this business that generated $1.6 million in revenue on money that I borrowed from the bank at 0% interest. Perfect example of leveraging other people's money. And I also did this for a variety of other e-commerce stores and other investments that ultimately put more money into my pocket. It took me a few months learning the secrets of the banks and getting my first $36,000 of 0% interest credit. I repeated this same method at a new bank and it was approved for $50,000 at 0% interest. I kept repeating the same process at a variety of different banks all the way to $500,000 in business credit. At that point, I could barely believe my eyes. It was such a ridiculous amount of capital that I was just approved for, and at that point, I knew I cracked the code. Over the next few months, I started to share these exact same strategies with some of my business friends, and they were seeing very similar results. It was awesome to see. And at that point, that's when I knew I discovered a brand new funding strategy that was able to work for not just me, but for other people in business. But now I'm going to show you on how you can get approved for hundreds of thousands of dollars of 0% interest capital. So stay with me over the next few minutes. I'm going to be diving into deep in these strategies. And these are the same strategies that helped my friend Dan get approved for $228,000 of 0% interest capital for 12 months. Dan had a dream of owning a furniture store. He was building and scaling his business from paycheck to paycheck. He spent 26 years trying to keep his head afloat financially. And after joining credit stacking, within just 4 months, we were able to get him approved for over 200 grand of capital that he was able to use to actually start his furniture store. And it's success stories like Dan that have helped our members get a combined total of more than $10 million approved in business funding at the time of this recording, by using the simple steps that I created after getting approved for hundreds of thousands of dollars of business credit. So what is the credit stacking system? Step 1, it is mastering your credit profile. Step 2, how to hack the bank and learn their private criteria of getting approved for massive limits. And step 3, how to use credit stacking to get access to 6 figures of 0% interest business funding. The more optimized your personal credit profile is, the more business funding you can get approved for. So you want to make sure your personal credit profile is as optimized as possible before seeking 0% interest business credit. A lot of people understand the score, but what they don't understand is the factors of the FICO score that ultimately make up the entire credit profile. So what we want to do is look at the 5 factors of your credit score, reverse engineer them, optimize each of those 5 factors, which will ultimately make yourself more attractive to the banks. Some of the most common mistakes I see people make is first, applying for too many personal credit cards. If you have too many recently opened accounts on your personal credit profile, it makes you look risky to the lenders. Mistake number 2, applying for credit cards in the wrong order. You want to apply for the beginner cards first and work your way up. Number 3, not requesting credit line increases effectively. One of the big things of getting approved for high limits on business cards is building up your comparable credit on your personal credit profile. So you can do this through 1, applying for high limit personal credit cards, and 2, using credit line increases on the right cards to build up your limits. The next mistake would be filling out the applications improperly. There's a lot of information you want to include on the applications. Some is verifiable and some is not verifiable. So it's very important you know exactly the right information to actually include on these applications that will help you get the highest limits and the best approvals. Previously, I had such a fixed mindset about credit cards and I wasn't willing to even consider them an option. Once I was able to figure out the internal underwriting criteria, here are some of the things I figured out on how to get approved for big limits on every application. Number 1 is your utilization. You want to have utilization under 30% on each of your personal credit cards that are reporting on your personal credit profile. If you can bring that to under 10% on each account, that's going to make yourself even more attractive to the lenders. Number 2, the number of hard inquiries you have on your personal credit profile. And this is one of the reasons you want to be strategic in applying for personal credit accounts, because every application that's submitted is another hard inquiry on your personal credit profile. So you want to keep it no more than 2 or 3 in the last 6 months and no more than 4 or 5 in the last 12 months. However, if you do have an excess amount of hard inquiries, there are strategies where you can dispute these hard inquiries and actually get them deleted from your credit profile. Next is payment history. It's kind of a no-brainer, but you don't want to have any late payments, any collections, anything negative reporting to your credit profile. But if you are someone that has these things, there are laws where you can dispute these negative items and actually have them deleted off your credit profile as well. The next thing I learned was the amount of recently opened credit accounts has an effect on your personal credit profile. And again, this is why you want to be strategic with the personal credit cards you're applying for, because each one of those accounts is going to affect your average age. And even if you're someone that has young credit age, there's different strategies that you can do to increase the average age of your profile, which ultimately makes yourself more attractive to these lenders. And lastly, you want to be making sure you're building strategic relationships with the right banks. You can build relationships through personal credit cards, through bank accounts, and ultimately through business credit cards as well. But if you build the relationship first, when you apply for the business cards, you're going to be getting much, much higher limits. But also you want to be making sure you're building relationships with the right banks, the banks that actually have the good lending products, so you're not wasting your time building a relationship with the banks that don't even have 0% interest credit. Step number 2, hack the bank. People get denied at banks all the time for 0% interest cards. It's extremely common, and they don't really tell you why you get denied either. And that's the frustrating part. They have an internal criteria that they keep a secret. And I know about this internal secret criteria because I've built really good relationships with business relationship managers. These are individuals who are the bridge between the consumers, like me and you, and the underwriting teams. I was able to ask these business relationship managers a ton of questions over the last several years. And by asking them these questions, I was able to really understand what exactly the underwriters are looking for. And because of this, I was able to reverse engineer this criteria and help people like myself and the over 2,000 people I'm helping right now to optimize their profile based on exactly what these underwriters are looking for. And that's how we're getting high limits back to back to back. Additionally, banks will deny your application if they feel your business is too risky. I have learned strategies to make your businesses appear less risky and more attractive. Without revealing too much, I'll let you in on a little secret. Consulting businesses typically do really well with the banks. Even if you have something that's risky, there are still ways to hack the bank. If you are at least a 25% owner on a business entity, you are eligible to apply for a business credit card on behalf of that business. So why is that important? Say for example, you have a significant other, maybe a spouse, and if they were able to give you 25% of that business, you would be able to seek capital on behalf of the business. So you essentially can double up on your funding, because now instead of one person getting funding, you can have two people getting funding on the same cards, so you're doubling up on your funding. Step number 3, getting approved for high limit business credit cards. Failure to plan is planning to fail. Even if you prepared yourself for the best case scenario, you still need to be strategic on how to apply for 0% interest business cards. Here are some of the most common mistakes I see people make when applying for business credit. Mistake number 1, not knowing what options are available to you. What do I mean by that? So based on the state your business is registered in, is gonna show you what business funding options you have available to you. So maybe you know Chase, American Express, US Bank, the big banks, but there are probably dozens of smaller banks that are in your state that you probably have no idea about. To stop this from happening, we made the Business Card Locator. This is an in-house database that's private for our community that shows every single 0% interest credit card product in the entire country, sectioned by state. So if you're in Florida, you look at Florida and boom, you see the dozens of banking options in Florida that have 0% interest cards. Mistake number 2, not knowing which bureau the banks are gonna pull from. See, based on your location in the country, the bank is gonna pull from a specific bureau, and that can change based on location. So if you have information to know which bureau the banks are gonna pull from, you can be extremely strategic with what sequential order you put your applications in. And this will ultimately help you get approved for more accounts with higher limits. And in credit stacking, we have a database that showcases data points from the entire country. Mistake number 3, applying the wrong way. You can either apply in person, in branch, or through a business relationship manager. Anytime you apply online, you're fighting with the computer algorithm. But if you apply through a business relationship manager, your application is going to the underwriting team, which are humans that look at your application. So if you can apply through a business relationship manager, you're gonna receive double, even sometimes 4 times the limit than a computer algorithm. Even if you're someone in your young 20s or even in your 40s or 50s, but with a thin credit profile, these strategies will still work for you. Here you can see guys in their younger 20s, Cooper got approved for a $50,000 Chase card, and Lauren was approved for over $100,000 in just over 1 year. So they were in their younger 20s with a very thin profile and still able to absolutely crush it with business credit approvals. So the big question, what is your plan? If we were able to help you get approved for over $100,000 of 0% interest capital, would it help your business succeed? Would it help you take advantage of more opportunities? Could you do more deals? My team and I have set aside some time over the next 48 hours so we can speak with you personally and show you how to apply these ideas to your business. On this call, you can ask us anything. We're gonna craft a step-by-step personalized plan for you so you can get started on credit stacking today. We just have 3 qualifications. The first being having at least a 650 or above credit score. Second, people who are committed and can allocate at least 4 hours per week to implement these strategies. And lastly, we're looking for people who are coachable. We need people who can listen to instructions and actually implement the strategies that we're teaching. We have a crazy amount of support that we give you every step of the way. I personally host weekly coaching calls to answer your questions, a private Facebook group with people interacting and engaging. I'm in the Facebook group answering questions. All the support you need, you will have. So all we need is people that are coachable and that can implement the strategies. The future is yours. If you've made it this far, it's because you're looking for a change. You have 2 options. You can either try and learn it yourself, which could take many years, or save the years of frustration and instead trust an expert like myself and join the credit stacking team and get all the support you need. Click the link below to book a call with us. Our space is limited, but we'd love to speak with you. So click the link below and book a call.